I'm Dustin Saldarriaga with Scott Legal PC in New York City. In recent videos, we've been talking about the TN visa, what it is, why it's one of the more popular visa options, and how to navigate more complex job categories like the management consulting category. In this video, we wanted to take a step back and share some tips that we think are important to keep in mind when preparing a TN visa application. We found these tips valuable in our practice, and we hope you'll find them helpful as well. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Tip number 1. Get to know how the government defines your job, and make sure you're performing tasks consistent with that job. When you're applying for a TN visa, you're required to choose a specific job category to apply under. Let's say that you've been offered a job in which you'll be designing a company's marketing materials, including their logo, photos, advertisements, their website, things like that. Your first step would probably be to read through the professions that are listed in the NAFTA TN regulations, which we'll link to below. You'll see that graphic designer is one of the listed professions. You might be tempted to think that at that point your work is done, that you'll be working as a graphic designer, that graphic designer is listed in the regulations, and that's that. But you'd be skipping an important step, which is to make sure that the work you'll be doing in the job, your actual job duties, is what the government thinks a graphic designer does. Believe it or not, the government not only has an idea of what job duties a graphic designer should perform, it also publishes them online on both the Occupational Outlook Handbook and ONET. We'll include links to both of these resources below. Take a close look at these job duties for your specific profession. If the job duties the government lists are different from what you'll be doing in your job, consider talking with your employer to see if you can more closely align your job with the government's definition. This will help to avoid the uncomfortable but not uncommon situation in which a border officer tries to tell you what they think you should be doing in your profession. Tip number 2. You only need to satisfy the educational or experience qualification once. What do I mean by this? For many professions listed in the TN regulations, there's more than one way to meet the threshold education or experience requirement that qualifies you to practice the profession, at least according to the TN regulations. Let's take an example. A management consultant can qualify if they have either a baccalaureate degree, 5 years of experience as a management consultant, or 5 years of experience in a field of specialty that's related to the consulting agreement. If you qualify based on having a college degree in business management, focus on that. Emphasize your diploma and your coursework and how that's sufficient to meet the threshold requirement. Don't be tempted to throw in the fact that you also have 3 years of experience, since this might make the officer think you're actually trying to qualify based on experience, and 3 years doesn't meet the 5-year requirement. Of course, if your job in the US will draw from your 3 years of experience, you can explain that in the context of why you're a good fit for the job. But keep that separate from how you meet the threshold education or experience requirement as it's defined by the TN regulations. Tip number 3, come prepared. I'll break this one into a few points. First, call the port of entry ahead of time to make sure they're open at the time you plan to cross. Second, keep in mind that border officers encounter a lot of fraud, so it's always a good idea to bring original documents. Specifically, if you're qualifying based on education, bring an original diploma and transcript. If you're qualifying based on experience, any letters about your past experience should have original signatures. And everyone should have an employment letter with an original signature. This letter and any experience letter should be printed on official company letterhead. Avoid copies wherever possible. Finally, plan for the border official to call your employer at the number on the employment letter, to visit your company's website, or even to visit your LinkedIn profile. Make sure your employer's ready to answer the phone in case the border officer calls. Check to see that the company's website is up, and polish your LinkedIn profile to make sure it's up to date and reflects the information you're providing in the TN application. We hope this video was helpful. If it was, please help us out and click the like and subscribe buttons below to stay updated on future videos about visa options and travel to the US. Thanks for watching.